Ghost of Tsushima kind of came out of nowhere for me. I knew it was coming out, but none of the marketing or the trailers that were shown had really given me any sense of hype or excitement. On one hand, that could be due to how little marketing there was in the lead up to the release a few months back, or that could be because of my own inherent lack of excitement for some new releases these days. The bottom line here is that Ghost of Tsushima had set no expectations for me really, and after seeing the fairly good reviews for it, I did decide to pass on it on release. Instead, deciding to actually save money for once, but as you can see by this video, that money got spent. It wasn't until I saw people streaming it on release day where I saw something that excited me. This game looked really fucking good. I am going to make the point that I do think the marketing for this game was not that great, but I'll also give them this. The idea behind Ghost of Tsushima on paper is fantastic, an open world samurai game that looks similar to the Tenchu games both in spirit and feel, and with direct influence from games like Breath of the Wild. This sounded like a fantastic game, but at that same time, there was a lot of room to fail, and you cannot get across the ideas that this game presents to you in any kind of trailer. This game is like a piece of art, and I don't mean that in the same way that the word has been used to describe some titles over the last few years, because I feel like whenever most games actually try to go for a style or try to tell something with purpose, the label of art is just kind of slapped onto them. Every video game in existence is art in one way or another, so just calling a game art means nothing. So when I use that word when I talk about Ghost of Tsushima, I mean it in the way that this game looks like a moving painting. With every frame feeling deliberate in style and mood, almost every shot used in its cutscenes is meant to create juxtaposed ideas, whether that's by using color, framing, or general compositions to elicit the idea that there's a war going on in not only the island of Tsushima, but within Jin himself. And I'm not going to get into the intricacies of the plot in this review because these little moments are some of the best moments in the game, but we can still set it up. The events of this game are based on very real history told through very not real means. In 1274, the Mongol army arrived in Tsushima to seize control of the island. They were met by a samurai force of roughly 80 that were quickly killed, and this is the incident that kickstarts the events in the game. Jin Sakai is who he plays in this game, a lord of his clan and a samurai. He is one of the remaining survivors of the Mongol attack, and it's his duty to fight back against the invaders and reclaim his home, the island of Tsushima, which sets up what we're going to have to do in this game, which in practice is a fairly standard open world adventure, but within that formula is an experience that is dripping in atmosphere and style. The open world structure here is going to be familiar to you if you have ever played an open world game. There are main missions, side missions, collectibles, all of that good stuff. The main missions are obviously where the main brunt of the story is told. These will have you engaging in different scenarios that could feature large-scale battles or involve you sneaking into a fort or something. These missions offer a good amount of variety, and they all feel like episodes in a samurai epic. Each mission begins with a title card that is both thematically accurate and a good way to build up hype for some of the more important story beats.
And we will be there to catch him.
I like this plan. I like this plan. I like it, the headman. The side missions are actually split into 3 separate types of scenarios. You have your standard generic side missions that are littered about the map, which give you resources, XP, and do a good job of world building. Then you have tales, which are missions that follow your companions from the storyline. They involve you helping out with their problems and give you a chance to get to know them better. Some of them also give unique rewards like customization items. The final kind of side quests are the mythic tales, which are stories based off of Japanese myths. These offer unique abilities or armor sets that will help you out throughout the course of the game. Almost all of these activities are fun and engaging to do, but that isn't necessarily because of how fun they actually are, but how fun everything around them is. As I said before, each mission feels like it's an episode from some samurai TV show, and since one of their biggest inspirations were the films of Akira Kurosawa, it makes a lot of sense. But where the game really shines are in its collectibles, of which there are 6 different kinds in total. I'll just list a couple of my favorites here. First, there's fox dens. In the world, you'll see a fox sitting under a tree, and if you follow where it leads you, you get taken to a shrine that gets you a charm, which gives you some nice perks. Then there are the haiku spots, which involve you composing a haiku based on your surroundings. These get you a new headband with a haiku you wrote used as its description. And finally, there are the bamboo shoots, which are essentially memory games that involve you remembering buttons. These net you an upgrade to your resolve meter, which is used to heal yourself and use special abilities. You know what? While we're here, let's talk about cosmetics, and if there's anything to know about me, I like my cosmetics. Throughout the game, you'll find a bunch of different armors, face masks, and headwear that can all be combined to make Jin look like the ultimate samurai badass. Alongside that, you can get different dyes for these that alter the color of the sets, so whether you want to walk around in the most colorful getup in Tsushima or blend into your background as a stealthy shinobi, this game has you covered. You can also get extra sword sheaths and bow sets that alter the looks of the two. Basically, the cosmetics in this game are awesome, especially if you're into feudal Japan shit. But finally, let's get into the actual gameplay, and this is the department that actually surprised me the most. What I was not expecting to find was a combat system that might actually be my favorite that I've played in an open world game. The blade-to-blade combat here is extremely simple. You have a quick light attack that is used to deal damage, a heavier attack that is used to deal stagger damage and break the guards of your enemies, and you can also block, parry, and dodge to act as your defensive abilities. When the fights actually play out, they are some of the most satisfying engagements I've ever played. Every strike feels punchy, and your mistakes can often be fatal. Especially in the early game on harder difficulties, you need to pay close attention to what you're doing. I played this game on stream for my playthrough over on Twitch, and whenever I was goofing around, I noticed that I kinda sucked at the game. But there were so many times where I just managed to get into this zone and managed to wipe out an entire room in seconds. This combat rewards you for being good at it, but if that isn't something you want to do, then you don't really have to. This game has two different styles of play. The combat-focused approach of the samurai, which has a skill tree devoted to learning different combat skills, and then you have the ghost tree, which focuses on stealth. Both of these styles actually play into the story in really interesting ways. In some situations, open combat just isn't a viable solution, and using some dishonorable stealth tactics like killing your enemies from a bush or employing the use of smoke bombs is going to be the best way of dealing with them. The stealth in this game isn't really anything special. It gets the job done even though the AI might be a little janky at times. The most important thing is that whichever style of play you decide to go for, they're both very satisfying, and that's honestly the best way to describe playing this game. It's just extremely satisfying. Whether you're running around in a forest, getting through a fight by the skin of your teeth, or climbing up to a shrine, it's all just really fun to do. The variety of activities that the game presents is fantastic and means that I'm never bored whenever I play it. If I feel like I want to kick some ass, I'll walk into a Mongol camp, and if I'm ever feeling poetic, you can bet your ass I'll be writing some motherfucking haikus. While writing all of this out, I've really been trying to think of some negative points to the game, and there are a few, but they're extremely nitpicky, so strap on in. First up, in combat, the targeting on the enemies can sometimes be a little sketchy. I've had times where I've wanted to perform a jump attack on an enemy that I'm looking directly at, but Jin just redirects in midair and attacks someone else. This isn't a deal breaker or anything, but it is very annoying in more heated battles where I want to know exactly what I'm doing. The other thing is that when you jump on some cliff faces, instead of there being an animation for sliding down or something like that, Jin just kind of floats on the rock and gets stuck sometimes, which kind of unimmerses me just a little bit. But that's it. Those are really the only problems I have with the game. I fucking love this game. The story, gameplay, art design, and its world are all so engaging and fun to be a part of. I came into this game with zero expectations, and I'm walking out of it very happy. So far, this is my game of the year, and we'll have to see if it stays there by the time the year is over. But for now, I'm gonna give this game a 10 out of 10. It gave me everything I could have wanted, and now I'm gonna go back and 100% it, I think. So, bye!